So, the Palmetto State Armory AK-74 is finally back in from being repaired by Palmetto State Armory. I sent this gun off to them on June 4th, and it was delivered to me Tuesday, July 20th. They worked on it for about 25 business days, which is about 10 days over what they generally say is considered average. But it appears that that is actually pretty good timing because I will show you guys, or I'll link you guys to an AK files thread, two of them specifically, that show that people have waited quite a while for these guns to be repaired. And I'm kind of shocked because of, one guy and maybe another or so stated that they waited about 4 months. But it was a little bit before I did this. So honestly, it's not too bad compared to what other people have waited, because 4 months is actually pretty ridiculous. And I want to say that that kind of is not a good sign for Palmetto State Armor. It means that they've definitely have some quality control issues that need to be ironed out. And I kind of want to also address some other things that relate to that, because I do have a lot of worries after going over threads and the AK files and such. But first, I want to go ahead and basically just go over everything that was changed on this gun, because it was very shocking to me. Because if you remember in the video where I showed the wear, there was a handful of parts that I really noticed some, what I would consider, peculiar wear for the round count. Now, a few people said that they experienced similar things, and also there was a experience in particular relating to the firing pin issue that I had experienced but didn't necessarily cause the same issues that other people reported in both the Generation 5 and Generation 3 AK-47s. I'll go ahead and address that now. So what two guys told me they had happened was that basically they shot around and a ton of smoke came out of the gun, and it leaked out the dust cover, out every surface of the gun that it possibly could leak from, and that this ultimately resulted in the gun failing to work afterwards. It wouldn't fire, basically. And what that was basically telling you was that there was a ruptured primer where the firing pin punctured it, and that debris was basically getting into the firing pin channel. Now, I had this puff of smoke happen. It was in the last time I shot this gun, like pretty much near the last 3 rounds of the gun. A bunch of smoke came out. It was kind of noticeable. It wasn't like, you kind of shoot and, you get some more smoke than normal. It was, when you breathe it in, you kind of coughed. And when you shoot an indoor range, it was almost like shooting a black powder weapon. Not, that's being a little bit over exaggerating, but it was definitely something odd. The reason why it didn't warrant me mentioning it though in the videos is because, simply put, it didn't cause any malfunctions afterwards, and I didn't notice any of the primers, any other casings that I picked up had a punctured primer or anything that would denote that this gun had just catastrophically failed. What I potentially chalk it up to is I noticed there was some oil still on the magazine. It was one of those commercial Bulgarians. So I said maybe there was some oil that got burnt in the magazine and it was leaking out of the magazine. I've had something kind of like that happen, but it nearly wasn't as bad. So I didn't really know what to think of that until 2 people in the comment section of the video where I show the wear state plume of smoke, and I instantly know what they're talking about. So there was definitely something inherently wrong with how they were doing these firing pins and the firing pin channels, and I will discuss that because I can clearly show what they've changed. So without further wasting your time, I'm going to go ahead and get into the changes and just kind of talk my opinions. First of all, I want to say I have not shot the gun, so there will not be any real amount of wear that isn't really characteristic of what the previous rifle had, and or what Palmetto State Armory's gunsmiths basically shot through the gun. So I want to go ahead and start by saying that the barrel has been changed, as well as the front trunnion. As you can clearly see, there is not the step on the right lug that was very characteristic of all Palmetto States. I will, go ahead and shoot this gun one time. I'll get into later what I really kind of am thinking about doing with this gun and what I will probably do with this gun. It's not set in stone, but you can clearly see that that is not looking as how it did before. And I wonder if this will end up looking kind of like what all Palmetto States after shooting it. We'll see. You can clearly see that the barrel does not have the markings that it did previously. And what it appears that those markings are caused by is it appears that when you look at how the extractor is, on the AK files, one guy showed that his was significantly, well, not significantly, but a little bit longer than on his Sega. And that when he went to charge the weapon, as it was, the bolt was locking into the trunnion, he noticed that the extractor was actually touching the barrel, and that should not be happening. It should not touch the barrel. I have a video of me trying to test to see if this does this now, and it appears that mine is not touching the barrel. So that's a good thing. And I think what those markings were caused by is the extractor, kind of rotating off of the barrel, and that again should not happen. And that is definitely a sign that they were not really 100% knowledgeable about making these. Moving a little bit further down, I think the rails are new. The reason why I think that is because if you look at it, it doesn't really have the same finish where, they could have just refinished it. I don't really know. They look very different to my eye, at least, compared to my previous rifle before the repair. So that's a possibility. I think the trigger is the same, and I think that most of the other stuff back here is the same. There is a possibility this receiver could be brand new. I don't know. But in many ways, I kind of got a brand new rifle. One thing I did notice that's actually really nice is that the front sight block appears to be completely brand new, and that the gas tube is significantly tighter. I cannot move this gas tube whatsoever. It is rock solid, and it's actually really difficult to put this thing back into the gun, and even get it out is actually a real big pain. In fact, one of the issues I was having is when I went to push against the lower handguard with my right hand and push the upper tube down into the gun, what I ended up doing is I ended up pushing the heat shield on the lower handguard below the rails because it was being pushed against the barrel, and it caused a lot of pain. And the reason why I was messing with that is because I was having issues getting my cleaning rod, my Arsenal cleaning rod back in the gun. I'll discuss that a little bit. But it appears that this gas tube is brand new, and you can see the wear from me trying to get this thing back in and stuff. It was a nightmare. And it appears that this rear sight is also new because I mentioned previously in my video that I noticed it was slightly canted in the base. This pin, I assume, was slightly off, and it was kind of tilting the sight a little bit to like the rear to the left. And I noticed it because my sight picture wasn't as nice as on my Arsenal, my Wasser. You could tell that I couldn't see as much of the front post. Now, though, it's perfectly fine. So at least they fixed that. So I assume from what it appears that this is a whole new front sight block. I believe that the gas block is also brand new. It looks pretty good. And I think that the front sight block as well is also brand new. And there's a few reasons for that. One, I noticed some, I don't know if you can see it, there's some markings where they hit it. And also, I don't know if they zeroed it. And also, you can kind of tell that, I can't really tell, but I remember on my drum, I had a little bit more wear from having to push it on the finish. But personally, I can't really tell. So that could be brand new. And it appears that it's not canted. I think it might be a little bit canted. I could be wrong. But it appears that if they did zero it, it is not canted. I don't really know. And also, the muzzle brake is the same. I noticed the safety is a little bit looser than before. I don't know if it's brand new or not. But also, I think one thing that is definitely new is the latch for the folding stock. Let me get this down. because there's no wear on it really whatsoever, except well, there's a little bit because I was folding it, checking everything, and I think that's the same latch because it looks very rough. The side rail, I think is brand new because it does not have really any of the wear. I think there was a little bit of a nick from the side rails that I was using on it, so I think a lot of this is brand new. Also, I did notice that if the magazine release isn't brand new, it has definitely been repainted because there was some finish wear on it. I want to go ahead and go on to the bolt. Also, I do want to say I did have a lot of issues getting the cleaning rod in. One issue was it was getting caught on the front trunnion down here, and then when I got past it was getting caught on something else, and I had to basically kind of use a little bit of plastic hammer to kind of tap it in a bit, and it went in. And that was also how I got this on. I gave it a good tap and it went right in, which was kind of odd to me. The dust cover is obviously the same because it has that same nick I reported originally. The bolt carrier is very obviously brand new, and you can see they definitely test fired it. Nothing peculiar with that. There's really nothing ever mentioned about the bolt carrier that was odd or dangerous. The V-coil spring appears exactly the same. And the bolt is where we get into something very interesting. So this is 100% a brand new bolt. And you can clearly see that it does not have the same finish wear in several points, like right here, I think, right here. But you can see a little bit of it forming now, and right here. But obviously, it doesn't look anything like it did before. And you can also notice that the firing pin channel is definitely smaller than it was before. It's still a bit big, because if you look at a real AK-74 made in Russia or Bulgaria, the firing pin hole is significantly different from these. It is a much smaller diameter hole that is pretty much leaving no gap with the firing pin. It is chamfered. So the hole itself is chamfered on real AK-74s. I think what they've basically done here is they've just copied the original AKM style firing pin and hole, because the firing pin itself is not the same as a real Russian or Bulgarian, which I do have a Russian firing pin. You can also tell it's brand new because it does not have the two weird nicks or spots that wear on the back. So this is definitely a brand new bolt. So I want to just quickly discuss what I think about all of this and what I'm going to do with this gun. Like I said before, I'm planning on shooting this gun and seeing what happens. But I think based on what I've kind of noticed from the threads on the AK files and stuff, is that there is definitely something up with Palmetto State Armory, in that these guns, any of them, I don't think a single one of their AKs is as good of a, as good quality as an Arsenal, as a SGL, as a Wasser even. I think that they're definitely good weapons, or good guns, if you want something that's on the cheaper side, and you don't plan on really shooting it a whole lot. It's more of a range gun, I guess, because the thing that I think is an issue here with these guns, I don't think that they're made to last as long as a foreign import gun. I think that when you get a foreign import gun, you are getting the exact same quality that soldiers are getting, that rely on these weapons to fulfill their duties in combat, to life or death situations. So Palmetto State Armory isn't obviously doing that. So what I think this kind of comes down to is, do you want to spend a little bit more money? And it's honestly not a whole lot more money. And if you look at it, a lot of people who bought these on Gunbroker and stuff paid basically the same price for a Palmetto State Armory as you can get a SAR 2 or any of the Romanian, AIM 74s and stuff like that. If you think about that, why wouldn't you just get the Romanian gun? It has, you know, cold hammer forged barrel, chrome lined, foreign made parts. It's going to, you know, it's going to last you forever. You're not going to probably outshoot the gun to death. These, I don't know. You know, you're getting quality that is dubious because there isn't the round count behind them or the engineering behind them to support that these things will last you forever. And that is somewhat worrying if you are really, you know, putting down a lot of money on it. It's like, well, dang, just spend maybe a little bit more money and get the foreign made gun that you know is going to be good. You know, buy once, cry once is what Michiko said. I just think that there is potentially issues relating to how they make these guns, specifically with the head spacing, with how the extractor and ejector correlate, because obviously there was a little bit of a nick with the ejector. And also I saw one guy state his ejector on his 103 was causing issues where it was malfunctioning. So I think that there is some potentially serious issues with these guns that is not a good sign that the quality control is there, because it appears that a lot of people have had to send these back, and that's kind of sad, because when you have to send a gun back, it's never a fun time, and it makes you wonder, well, really, did they fix it? You know, because you can replace something and say, look, good as new, but the problem might be inherent to the design, not specifically that one part, not specifically what they replaced. So it does make me wonder if this will happen again or not. It's very clear that Palmetto State Armory is not making these AK-74s currently. They have not been in stock for a long time. I haven't seen anyone post any, you know, links to, hey, they're in stock, you know, today or something. And it's very clear that people are very dubious of these guns, and as you know, I think they really should be. So I will debate after shooting it. I'll make a follow-up video. Hopefully it won't be as long as this one. I'm sorry this is as long as it is. It's actually kind of ridiculous how long my videos are. But I just kind of wanted to show that and talk about this because I think it's important information. And, you know, when people leave stuff out in videos and rely solely on reading, a lot of people miss out because not everyone is as big on reading as they are on listening, because listening is more a passive task. So I just wanted to report on that, show a little bit of the internals and kind of talk about things that has definitely been replaced, and I'll get back to you guys later. So see you guys in the next video.